The Once and Future Nerd, Book 2, Myth Made Flesh. Chapter 3, Bridges. Part 1 by Rhiannon Angel and Christian T. Kelly Madera. Part 2 by Rhiannon Angel, Ian Harkins and Christian T. Kelly Madera. Part 3 by Zach Glass, Ian Harkins and Christian T. Kelly Madera. Part 4 by Rhiannon Angel, Ian Harkins and Christian T. Kelly Madera.
Now take a moment to still yourself so as not to flinch. It helps if you look down.
Goodbye, Gwen. I'll wait for you in Galadin's green garden.
Oh! What the devil?
Sorry. So sorry. Sorry, those are mine. I left the cage open by mistake. I'm terribly... By Galadin's grace, Lord Commander, fancy meeting you out here.
Gillowing, good evening. What brings you...
Is that Arlene Redmore?
For a high-born lady such as Arlene to find herself facing seemingly certain death at the hands of a Knight of the Wood was unexpected. But even more unexpected was that her execution should then be stayed by the miraculous arrival of a flock of pigeons. Honestly, the odds of a biped ever being rescued by birds simply beg a belief, and the Lady Redmore did not waste the opportunity.
Yellowing?
What are you doing out here, Lady Redmore? Why aren't you...
Kaltir, I beg your aid. The Lord Commander intends to murder me and make it look like orcs, a violation of the Second Concordat. As a noble-born daughter of the House Redmore, I petition you for redress before the High Council.
What?
Perhaps you should ask the Lord Commander why she's followed me to this empty field with weapon in hand, so you've something to tell your parents on the council when I turn up murdered.
And perhaps, Kaltir, the Lady Redmore, can explain that she is harboring an enemy of the realm.
An enemy of the realm?
Yes, and she is caught red-handed. Even now, she clutches to her breast the foul spawn of an orc.
The spawn of an orc? Lady, is this true?
I believe its mother was an orc, but it
so having forsaken the laws of the Concordat, she has also forfeited its protections.
Lord Commander, while I certainly do not wish to challenge your authority in this matter, I must still object to...
In Galadin's name, what now?
That would be my bird minder.
Your what?
Sensing Reloteet's distraction, Arlene began to edge towards the water. She held the infant tight to her chest, preparing to run.
Move one more inch, lady, and I'll shoot you where you stand. Speak one word out of turn, and you'll get the same.
With the bow raised, Yellowing saw the crude, flint-tipped arrow nocked thereon. At this juncture, I'll only say that it is unfortunate how mortal minds are sometimes late in solving a puzzle, even when they've clearly seen all the pieces.
I need barely a second.
Then relowered and unslung the bow as Dave crested the hill. As Davard approached the stream, the three already standing beside it were eerily still, and soon the pigeons' frenzied flapping calmed, then stopped altogether as the birds returned obediently to the arms of their erstwhile master.
Yellowing, there you are! I thought I'd lost you. Now, what did I tell you about that bird cage? The first rule of bird cages is that you gotta lock 'em up tight as can be, you goose. These proud creatures are just itching to fly away, aren't you, babies? Now, don't you worry, no real harm done. Dave got here just in time. You can count on Dave. Or just pop 'em back in their cages. There you go. Yes, you lovely things. Who loves you? Daddy Dave loves you. Yes, he does.
Even Arlene could not help but look perplexed at this, shall we say, exchange.
And who is this upstanding young elf?
Taid Reloteet, allow me to present Davard,
Lord
the eldest
Commander,
child of the family.
As I live and breathe, it is truly an honor. Oh, I'm your big biggest fan. I've got tapestries of all your great battles. I'd love for you to sign one if you'd... Now, just give me a minute. I know I've brought one of them.
Do you hold any ranks or titles, David?
Not as of yet, Taid, but it'd be my honor and pleasure to assist you in any way you wish. Oh, and who's that over there? Hello, my name's David.
I'm afraid the three of us were discussing a very sensitive matter, David. I appreciate your offer of help, but I must ask that you leave us some privacy.
Oh, of course, Taid. My sincere apologies. Let me just water the horses, then I'll be out of your hair, lickety-split.
Leave the horses. We'll keep an eye on them.
All right, then. Come and wet your whistles, sweet darlings. If you'll look after them, I'll just head back across the hill and send a pigeon to the White Forest, letting them know we've met up.
Why don't you wait just a bit on the pigeon, young squire? There might be much more to report very soon.
Perhaps it was merely the canib root he'd ingested, but this slightly odd request only darkened the growing unease plain on Yelloween's face.
Of course, Taid. Work smarter, not harder. That's what I always say.
Brilliant.
This thrown-away, insincere affirmation was in fact the highest compliment young Dave had ever been given, from his idol no less. He beamed ear to ear as he walked away.
Just holler the second you need old Dave.
And as David walked back over the hill, Arlene's eyes flicked furtively to the drinking horses a few strides away.
Now, as to the traitor that stands before you, Yelloween, would you excuse her treachery and betray the realm?
Kaltir, please. If I've committed a crime, it was not out of any malice. Whatever its mother was, this child has harmed no one. He looks capable of harming no one. Perhaps I have gravely misjudged, but before I am killed on the spot, I beg of you, grant me the right to defend my name and my honor. That is all I ask.
She asks too much, given the gravity of her crimes.
Taid, you will find in me no opponent of swift justice, but conscience does compel me to say that in my years at Gwanatal's court, I saw nothing in the lady's behavior to ever suggest ill will towards the realm.
Then perhaps, Kaltir, you're not as keen an observer of Mimyet as you'd like to think.
Taid?
Allow me to paint you a picture of a noble-blooded Mimyet girl, born to a mother killed in childbirth and a father thereby inconsolable. It is no secret that the late Lord Redmore was rarely awake and sober in his latter years.
Unless you have lived my life, Lord Commander, you could never...
And so it fell on her twin brother to care for her in their house, her famously ill-tempered twin brother, who was rumored in the most hush of whispers to be many worse things besides.
You've catalogued my father's failings and my brother's sins. Am I to be charged with these?
No, my lady, you're to be charged with treason. I'm just walking the Kaltir through what he may have missed. So this lady, always either neglected or mistreated by the men charged with caring for her, is given in marriage to Antonin Mooncrest, and by her presence here, it is safe to say that she objected to that match.
My flight is a matter of human law and does not imply...
Now perhaps she just disliked Lord Mooncrest. Or perhaps she's not the marrying kind of lady, if you take my meaning.
I'm not sure I do.
Well, we all know how close-minded some Mimyet can be regarding who puts their loins where.
Don't you dare.
Oh, don't mistake me. I think it's absurd how hung up your kind get on such trivial variations in preference. But the fact is, they do. And Yelloween, I'm sure in your years at court, you noticed an exceptional closeness between the lady here and her handmaiden.
You've no proof for what you're implying, and even if you did...
Imagine, just imagine, the daily indignity of being desperately in love with the person right beside you, but never being able to express it. Unless I'm gravely mistaken, and the lady wishes to look us in the eye and tell us the handmaiden is nothing more than a servant to her.
Arlene raised her furious eyes to the two elves, but could not bring herself to form any words.
And so this woman, with every reason to resent and despise the order into which she was born, with ample motive to burn the world down around her, stands before you holding that lawful terror. Who could say what she is liable to do with it?
You may speak wisely as ever, Taid. Yet I cannot seem to shake my unease at her summary execution.
That's why the decision is not yours, Kaltir. You've seen much, but you are still young, and quite likely your parents have yet to make you fully aware of the intricacies and delicate nature of the peace that exists between the White Forest and human noble houses. I must always act in the best interests of both races, even as I regret any appearance of callousness. Now stand aside.
Yelloween, please.
Taid, I've realized it's not the sentencing that disquiets me. It is the air of subterfuge.
I beg your pardon.
What need have you to use an orcish arrow?
Because she is lying. She means to murder me and blame
Enough
it on...
of your slanders.
Ree drew and slung the bow again to shoot, but this time Yelloween moved in front of it.
Kaltir, if I didn't know any better, I might wonder whether you had spent too much time at the human court and forgotten your heritage.
My first and foremost loyalty is to the High Council, and I would not see them deceived.
Deceived. When you were wetting your nice feather bed and sucking on your cream-fattened wet nurse, I was shitting in a frozen ditch and drinking muddy snow to stay alive, as I kept watch over God's forsaken mountain outpost you've never even heard of. While you were serenaded to sleep with your jewel-studded harps, I was listening to the war cries of savages who would rape and murder everyone I knew if I didn't hold the line. By the time your parents handed you the title you now wield, I had forgotten more deaths than you have ever even seen. Everything you have. Everything. The luxuries and privileges, yes, but also the simple fact of having room to live was made possible by the constant vigilance of me and my predecessors, and by the blood and guts of my fallen siblings in arms. And now, you ride in one battle, and you dare to think that you know better than me how to protect the world I have bled for.
Taid, there is much I do not presume to know, and I meant you no disrespect.
Well, you have disrespected me, and you continue to do so as you obstruct me in my duties.
But I know this much. As Kaltir de Gwenatal, it is my duty to report to the council on important matters regarding that house. And that house is fallen. Ardell Redmore claims the high throne. The commander of Gwenatal's armies calls Lord Redmore a regicide and a usurper. And Lord Redmore's twin sister is about to be killed in a deserted field by the Lord Commander of the Knights of the Wood. So, by all means, Taid, do what you think you must.
Yelloween stepped aside.
But unless you saved one of those orc dots for me, and are prepared to lie about my murder to my parents' faces, the High Council will hear of what's happened here.
Well, if that's how you feel about it, Yelloween, perhaps some concessions are acceptable. The Lady Redmore shall have a trial.
Arlene did not even attempt to conceal her sigh of relief.
Provided she consents to be bound, hooded, and gagged as we transport her to the White Forest.
I consent, so long as Yelloween is permitted to speak at my trial.
But that thing she is holding has no rights whatsoever. On this point, you'll find me immovable. The orc spawn dies before we leave here.
But he's hurt no one. He's even more innocent than I.
Do not tempt your astonishing good fortune, my lady.
Very well. And lest my loyalties be questioned further, I'd like to put the creature down myself.
Yelloween, have a heart.
As you wish, Kaltir. Though I'm afraid I must insist it be done in my sight.
Arlene stared desperately at Yelloween as he approached her.
Please, don't.
Lady, see reason. Look how hated it is in this world. Allow me to do it a mercy. I promise I shall do so as quickly and painlessly as I can.
Tears streamed down Arlene's face, but she did not budge.
Please, my lady.
Yelloween reached out and took hold of the child. With his elvish strength, he did not have to try very hard to pull it from Arlene's hands.
Forgive me, Gwen.
But as Yelloween held the child, and despite his heightened perceptions, the elf could not discern a single significant difference between the Orkling and any of his Memyet friends.
Sibling, what do you know of orcs? I'm curious of late as to what separates them from the Memyet.
Well, mostly the Black Mountains, I suppose. Is a brown horse truly that different from a white one?
Ylwyn raised his eyes to meet Arlene's. He knew that any sound he made, however quiet, would be clear as day to Reloteet's elf ears, but he also knew Arlene could not have spent her whole life at court without at least some skill in reading lips. And indeed, though Arlene was at first too perplexed to react, she understood Ylwyn perfectly well when he silently mouthed,
Ride.
With elvish dexterity, Ylwyn vaulted onto Dave's horse with one arm, cradling the infant in the other, not recommended for non-elvish parents, and charged the destrier straight at Ree.
Damn it!
With a killer's instinct, she instantly let loose an arrow trained perfectly at Ylwyn's heart, but the flint arrow deflected off his moon silver mail and instead lodged under his shoulder joint. As Ylwyn involuntarily pulled his mount's head to one side, Ree loosed another arrow straight into its eye. The dying animal's legs gave out. Ylwyn dove clear as the massive beast tumbled end over end in the direction of its charge. Reloteet leapt back from the rolling carcass and lined up to put an arrow in Ylwyn's eye at point blank.
Yeah.
But Arlene had charged her mount at the distracted general and was upon her. Ree's incredible reflexes saved her life, but she failed to pull her legs clear of the thundering hooves.
Have your head for this, you traitorous filth!
She tried to stand, but had no use of her badly broken legs.
Lieutenants! Lieutenants!
Arlene reined in her mount just enough for the prone Ylwyn to grab onto the bottom of the saddle.
I've got it. Go.
Yeah! Memory pass! Minkilab! Or kill yet!
As Ylwyn finally hoisted himself up behind Arlene, the fugitives were already 100 yards from Ree.
Fuck it all! David! David! David, get over here!
There was still an hour or so left of darkness when Nia came to the tent where Jen and Billy lay sleeping.
Jen? You wanted me to wake you?
Yeah, thanks.
I can take your turn if you wish. I doubt I'll be able to sleep.
Oh, no. I want to be around. Hey, Billy.
She gently shook her paramour's shoulder.
I'm getting up.
Okay. I'm up.
You could sleep. It's really okay.
I said I was gonna wake up and help.
It's a shame that Billy chose to rub his eyes at that exact moment, as he missed the very warm smile that Jen gave him.
Brendan back yet?
No, not yet.
How's Regan holding up?
She's improving little by little. She's had solid food.
That's good. I just tried to picture you feeding her.
Oh, gods, no. Her feeding herself is truly a sight to behold, though. Of all the things that have surely been said about Her Majesty, no one could ever deny that she is skilled with a knife.
Yeah, I know, it's like a theme in our relationship.
Oh, yes, my apologies.
And she kept the food down.
Yes, it's been near to 4 hours now.
And then these two physicians and lovers of wisdom simultaneously remembered certain facts about animals and what happens to their food.
Oh.
What?
Certain excretion necessities.
Oh.
Well, it's a bit old-fashioned, but I've read that in the old bathhouses one might have used a rag affixed to a stick.
That'll work for now, I guess. Hey, do me a favor and let me roll this idea out to her.
A few minutes later, in Regan's tent.
I'm sorry, what's going on?
Just need some, assistance. I don't really have the hands for it right now, so.
Oh, I mean, I don't think we have to do yoga now, like.
Just need help with the.
You know, I'm sorry, I don't really understand. That's the problem you're having?
I swear on Galadon's left tit if you.
Relax, tough guy. Nia had a good idea. Rag on a stick. She's rigging it up right now.
Well played, you smarmy piece of shit.
Jen gave a wildly exaggerated curtsy.
Brennan's not back yet, is he?
No one's seen him since last night.
Right.
He'll be back.
I'm not trying to be cold, but we're not gonna have time to wait for him.
He'll be back.
Sir Brennan was, as you know, with Gwen, riding towards the Horse's Head Inn by the fastest land route available to them. At this very moment, they were approaching a bridge. A bridge which, when the rivers were high, was the only crossing for several miles.
This could get a wee bit bumpy.
A brief note on this bridge. It's a bit of a sore spot for me, as I was friendly with several of the oaks who were felled to build it. Still, I must admit, the design was rather clever. After years of using rafts to cross the river, only to wind up a good bit downstream of where they intended, those who needed to cross eventually resolved to tie several rafts together, spanning the width of the ford. This design meant the bridge was minimally disruptive to the flow of the river and the creatures therein, required no stone to build, and yet was sturdy enough that horses could be made to cross it. In fact, the only shortcoming to this design, at least as far as I can tell, is that if the ropes were to be severed, the whole thing would very quickly float away downstream.
Are you ready?
You just tell me if I'm holding on too tight.
It's all right.
And by now I hope you know me well enough to realize this design flaw is about to become very important. For as Brennan and Gwen approached the river from the north, they heard a peculiar sound coming from the south, across the river.
Did you hear that? Is that?
On the horizon, a horse became visible.
Yellowing? Count here! Who's that he's riding with?
I think it's Lady Arlene.
What's he saying?
Brennan cupped his ear in his hand.
Caught that? No, that cannot be right.
And then over the horizon appeared 6 more riders. In the distinctive way that gave Moon Silver its name, the lunar light caught the opalescent armor of the Tarlohil.
Oh, Galadin, help us.
At one end of the bridge, Sir Brennan dismounted and readied his axe. And on the other end, Arlene spurred her mount furiously forwards.
Don't let up, my lady.
And as soon as Arlene's horse made it across the north bank, Sir Brennan swung his mighty axe, severing the bridge's ropes. And then he got back on his horse and fled after Yellowing. The 2 steeds raced back in the direction of Freehold as the ruined bridge drifted apart behind them. And as the elf knights were forced to stop at the now impassable crossing, they could only watch as their quarry disappeared into the night. Look, I know it's a bit on the nose as far as metaphors go, but what can I say? What happened, happened. The night was dark and gloomy near Castle Granatal. The eastern storehouse, once a vibrant hub of servants coming and going at all times, had been all but abandoned of late. At the stroke of midnight, 2 lonely guards kept their watch. These were the only 2 men in Redmoor's infantry without the clout or cleverness to barter their way out of that charge.
Just 2 more hours. Just 2 more hours.
I've heard he doesn't come out when there's a full moon, so maybe. Okay, what was that?
Just my stomach. I ain't eaten today.
What you do that for?
Mess all closed early. One of the cooks said they saw him.
Oh. Right.
Carl, do you ever think...
Bernard?
Aye, Carl?
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did, Carl.
Reckon we ought to go fetch the Sergeant-at-Arms.
Reckon it's a bit too late for that, Carl?
What? Why?
Why don't you look to your right, Carl?
Inches away from poor Carl stood a hooded figure in black, blending almost perfectly into the night. Its face was masked too, but that was not what caught the guard's attention. Rather, it was the knife the figure held, pointed forwards.
Is that a dagger I can see in front of me?
Spread the words, I tell you now. These halls will know no peace until Ardell, the usurper's black stain, is removed from this land. Avenge the king's foul and unnatural murder.
As you know by now, dear listener, this was not nearly the first of such occurrences around Castle Granatal.
I swear, Siggy, if I don't mend my lady's cloak for next it rains... Siggy?
And as the spectre's message spread...
These halls will not know peace.
Thomas, be a dear and fetch me that black dye.
So too did the sense of trepidation.
Until order the usurper's black stain.
Lucius, there you are. You've got to cut around the bones, you dunce. My knives are always going dull.
Amongst each and every person who heard tell.
What are you standing there slack-jawed for?
Is removed from this land. Avenge the king's foul and unnatural murder.
So when the two guards in the storehouse saw the spectre they had already heard so much about,
I am the spirit of justice. By gods, remember me.
They turned and fled.
Now leave.
And once they were gone, the spectre lowered its hood. And as you, dear listener, are perceptive, clever, and no doubt exceptionally good-looking, I doubt you'll be surprised to learn this was in truth no apparition from beyond the grave. No, of course, this haunting figure was what had become of our Lord Antonin Mooncrest. His grimy face fell into an almost religious reverie as he looked at the wheels of cheese and barrels of apples and salt meat he had just won for himself.
Bless Galadin. And damn Ordo Redmore.
The sun had just begun to inch over the horizon near Freehold, but Billy and Jen had already broken their fasts.
Yo.
Couldn't sleep?
Nah, not really.
Good morning, Nelson.
Hey.
Billy, Jen. You've managed to eat, I see. That as well. Nelson, you should try and break your fast while you can. We know not what the day might hold.
Anyone seen our guy?
Not yet, though I am confident Sir Brennan will keep his word. The sky in the west is pink and cloudy. It snowed in the mountains last night. Perhaps the storm is headed our way.
All right, Nia, I'll thank you to leave the metaphors to me. Everything's gotten a bit too literal, what with the burning bridges and storms on the horizon, don't you think? She wasn't wrong about last night's snow, though. Allow me, listeners, a brief interlude. Our thoughts as we consider orcs and elves and men, and what each is and seems to be and isn't at all, must drift to the west. West of Blackhold, to the Black Mountains themselves, foreboding land to be certain, sparsely populated by men who choose to live in solitude, tucked away in caves and cabins precariously perched on precipices. Oh yes, definitely still got it. Where the winter, when it starts, falls thickly, suddenly, and as surely as night itself. No, not a very good place for wood sprites, and not for you either, I should think. Not even to vacation. But even if one should take it upon themselves to cross from one side of the mountains to the other, one would do well to travel before the height of the winter storms. For once they start, the mountains are nigh impassable, and even now, this early in the season, the snow blew down in a horizontal blur. Jethro the woodsman had lived a long time in this desolate landscape, and while, as I said, it was a life most harsh, Jethro found that the calm press of the drifting snows helped him to focus on only the things that mattered to him. To each his own, I suppose. We join him, and you'll see why soon enough, I promise you, as he trudges steadily through the valley, his pack overladen with supplies to last the winter and a mangy old dog at his heels.
Start the fire up now, warm the hearth, merrily gather round. Though we won't see the sun or the green of the leaves till the snow doth melt from the ground. Whoa, now, Caleb. Stay on the path, you hear? You fall into a snow pit. I ain't going after your raggedy old hide. You smell anything, boy? What you got there?
The old man lowered his pack to the ground, his back quite grateful for even a brief reprieve. Cautiously, he walked toward the mound of snow his hound was inspecting. He saw then that the ground around it was stained the color of rust, or perhaps blood.
Caleb, don't touch that, I said.
Brushing aside the drifting snow, he discovered a hand, and then an arm. And then, yes, you see where this is going. Tucked into a small depression in the side of the craggy pass, he found a body.
Yeah, skin's all blue and gray already. Still bleeding though, ain't it?
And then the body twitched.
Wait. Help. Help me.
Now you'll recall that when we last saw General Traft, he was fleeing the Battle of Freehold with his tail between his legs. Not literally, orcs don't have tails, as you should have figured out by now. And anyway, the general of the orcish forces had only one orc parent, neither here nor there at the moment. Just reminding you. His armies routed, and his Templar allies as feckless as the chaos god they served, Traft had sought to make his way back across the Black Mountains to regroup with the orcish nations and nurse his severely wounded pride. However, the winter having fallen early, and without gear to protect himself from the storm, Traft found himself trapped between a rock and a lot of snow, which was where this Jethro fellow had found him and brought him into his humble home and hearth.
Hush now, Caleb. I guess don't even know which way is up without you trying to yammer at him. I said hush. Hush. Now let's just see here. There you go. That's it. Nice and easy.
Where?
Oh, hush now. And rest. You've a mighty thirst. And yet he killed you. You're sick if you drink too fast.
It was not until morning that Traft's faculties began to return to him.
Where am I? What is this place?
He looked around the small cottage where he found himself. It was not the Spartan place one might have expected to find at the borders of a civilization. It was, however, in a shambles. Gutted candles languished in the corners. Stacks of books littered floor and table alike. A map of constellations was pinned to one wall, and beneath it a compass, papers, quills, and scribblings lay scattered haphazardly. Notably, the ceilings of the dwelling had been studded with tiny pieces of glass. Sunlight slanted through the single window, bouncing erratically about the shards. But even more notably, the fire was warm, and the food cooking over it set Traft's stomach to rumbles. His hand went to his side, tenderly touching his bandaged wound.
Morning to you. You slept mighty long. Happened when you're weary of the road. Oh, when you caught a pickaxe in the flank there. Nasty wound that. Reckon you'll be wanting something to eat? Have that porridge and get your strength back. Drink that tea, too, before it cool. No cream, sorry to say, but eat and drink and do so with the blessing of the gods. Hush yourself now, Caleb. Into the cellar with you. Don't look at me like that. Get!
With a final glance over its shoulder at Traft, the despondent-looking mutt sulked off.
You don't take kindly to strangers.
Nah, don't take it personal. I'm sure he thinks he's a helping. Ain't you gonna eat? I know you must be hungry.
Traft, for his part, had been trying to size up his host and his food as quickly as he could. This was not lost on Jethro.
Nah, if I'd have had any ill will toward you, why'd I not have acted on it before? When you was all but dead to the world.
Traft very nearly smiled in spite of himself before partaking greedily of the food in front of him.
Forgive me, I've known some downright untrustworthy folks in my day.
Oh, now that I understand, boy. No apology needed.
You put salt pork in this? It's damn good. Didn't know you could raise up pigs past the tree line.
You can't, but you sure can't freeze anything you venture out to hunt.
Well, I'll thank you for your kindness. I'll not overstay my welcome. I aim to be on my ways, quickly as I can.
Oh, doubtful. The 9 winds have started their gusting. Barely got back with my supplies for the season. You'll not be going over the mountains this year, that's for damn sure. Of course, there's other ways of getting where you want to go, but...
If you know another way to get through that pass, I'd pay handsomely and know it too.
But I don't recommend venturing out tonight.
Traft gave no answer in either direction, but helped himself to another heaping spoonful.
I'm sorry I haven't even asked your name.
Called Jethro. A good workaday name, picked it myself. Wasn't always such.
Then Traft happened to notice an oil painting, framed with precious but tarnished metal, propped up in a corner opposite an old looking-glass. 2 things struck him about this painting. The first was the expressiveness of the eyes, remarkable even to such an unsophisticated critic as Traft. The second was the resemblance of the young, well-dressed subject of the painting to the ragged old man who sat before him. Traft gestured towards the painting.
Kinsman of yours, Jethro?
Oh, yeah, of a sort. Would you ever believe the man in that painting was sitting right before you even now?
Suppose I could. Man wears different faces throughout his life.
Feels like a lifetime ago. I always figured it was worth keeping. When a man's all by himself, it never hurts to remember what he once looked like.
Powerful thing, a portrait. Lots of folks might take it for granted, but getting to choose how you want to appear to the world, that's no small thing.
Well, I'd ask your name, boy, but I think I already know it.
Traft looked up from his meal.
I noted as soon as I saw that tattoo on your chest.
Traft couldn't stop the brief look of panic from crossing his face.
Don't worry. I ain't a-fixin' to turn you over to the elves. I ain't got much use for them, truth be told.
Is that so?
Greedy for power. Something fierce, says me. Rule all they touch with an iron fist. However much gold they like to plate it with.
Well, if you heard of me, you probably know I'm inclined to agree with that.
That's why I come all the way out here. Get away from all that, thought I. There's a wandering, pioneer spirit in my blood, my pa always said. Going back generation. Go west, thought I. Go west, where the land's still untamed and a man can build somewhere for himself.
You know, you might be surprised just how tame things are west of the mountains, where my people have built.
Aye, but that's just the rub, ain't it? The elves got their greasy fingers in that too. No, says I. No man will ever be truly free in this world so long as the elves are ruling.
Not often one meets a man who thinks like you do, Jethro.
Well, not many's been around so long as I have. Seen what I've seen.
Then you know it doesn't have to be like it is.
Oh, nay, it don't.
The elves are on top now, but they are not invincible.
Oh, not invincible, no. And for what it's worth, I ought to say I've no ill will towards your kind. Never believed what the elves said about you anyhow. Seemed to me it'd take a certain kind of virtue to build something in so hard a land.
You continue to strike me as a very wise man, Jethro.
I dare say, though, you may be thinking about freeing yourselves all wrong. Burning the world down around you and all.
Now, you think I'm too violent?
Nay, not exactly.
If a dog has a bone that he doesn't want to share, that's understandable. If he keeps that bone and then takes mine, and then takes yours?
Aye. Put him down and get another dog. Or find something you value that cannot be taken from you. For no matter where you go or how many mountains you climb, you'll still be you when you get to the top. If you want for something, sometimes it's best to look within. Me? I care not for the world. Burn it or don't. Run from it or don't. But what if instead you try to turn the world inside out?
Afraid I don't follow.
Tell me, young man, do you believe in an uncorruptible soul?
I see. Tell you the truth, Jethro, I never much cared for priests or chapels, if that's what you're asking. And I don't think there's anything in this world that's uncorruptible.
Oh, well, that's just it, my boy. Uncorruptible don't mean a man can't be a lead to do a wrong. It just mean that a man's will is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. It can't age or decay or break like a body can. In that way, it's the purest, most perfect version of a man, no matter what ends it's applied towards.
One way to put it, I guess.
Well, take my little old hand, for instance.
Your hand?
Jethro held out his hand so that the fire in his hearth cast a dancing shadow behind it.
No matter what I do, my hand cannot pass through this table. I could try and break the table, but I'd break my hand first, more like. But the shadow...
He waved his arm next to the table to demonstrate.
It passes over, through, around the table ever which way.
I suppose that's true.
You say you want to get over the mountain and see O'Kean. And I say there's another way.
I've heard of passages from underneath the mountains from the old times. If you got any maps or...
No. You're thinking about it all wrong. What if the mountains weren't even there?
Jethro, I thank you for your aid, but as you know, I have people who depend on me, and interesting as your thoughts are, I'm afraid I have no time for philosophy. I think it would be best if I return to my people with haste.
Nay. I told you you're not to leave here tonight.
I appreciate your concern, but I'm a man who values his freedom, like you. So I trust you'll not think me too rude.
Traft rose from the table to gather his things and collapsed to a heap on the floor, his legs suddenly jelly.
What the...
There's black nightshade in your tea.
Oh, you lying bastard.
Like I said, you might travel tonight. but not on your own two legs.
We'll return to the mountains and Traft's predicament in due time, I assure you. But for now I must take you back to Regan's tent near Freehold.
Your Grace, Sir Brennan has returned.
He's late.
The Caltier is with him.
You're shitting me.
And that's not all. There's also, well, you'd better see for yourself. Time seems to be of the essence.
You don't fucking say. Send them in.
Nia ushered in Brennan, Yilloween, Arlene, and Gwen. The former two knelt immediately, and the latter two quickly followed suit.
Your Grace.
You put that arrow in him, Brennan?
No, Your Grace, but I think you had better hear the account from him.
Who's this with you?
Allow me to present the Lady Arlene Mooncrest, born to House Redmore.
Your Grace. Brennan tried to tell me something of your claim on the ride here. I must admit it's all a bit of a blur. But I know for a fact my brother's claim is false. And if Brennan and Yelloween recognize you as queen, then that is enough for me.
See? Who says I can't build a court, Nia? All right, everyone get up except the elf.
The Queen's subjects complied, which was when Regan's gaze fell upon Gwen.
Wait, don't I know you from somewhere?
Ah, Your Grace. We met beneath Castle Gornatal.
Right, that was you. Sorry if I scared you. Brennan, you know you owe this woman your life?
Beg pardon, Your Grace?
I was fucking gone from that castle till this one appealed to my better spirits.
How did...
Story for another day. Right now, the splint needs to start talking.
I cannot stress enough the novelty of the elf's demeanour in this moment. Far from the youthful bravado to which you are surely accustomed, he instead remained kneeling, kept his eyes on the ground, and spoke in muted tones.
Your Grace, I have made many and terrible mistakes, and I own accounting for each and every one. But I swear on my life and honor that willfully deceiving your Grace was never among them. What I now know, I could have never believed had I not seen it for myself.
Yeah? What's that?
Reloteet is... She was prepared to murder the Lady Arlene in cold blood and without a trial, and to falsely blame the murder on orcs, all to conceal what the lady had found.
Which is?
This, Your Grace.
Arlene approached Regan, carrying her swaddled bundle.
We found him next to a dying orc, Your Grace. We think it was hers on account of she spent her last breath begging me to save it. Only it looks like every other babe I've ever seen.
It is just as you said, Your Grace. My shame for having doubted you knows no bounds.
I gather things didn't go to plan for Reloteet.
The Caltier risked his life to save mine. He took that arrow as he rode the Lord Commander down.
You did what?
She's hurt, but still lives. She'll be upon us as soon as she's able. A few hours at the most.
So, hurt or not, you both walked away. I know that grift. What's to say this isn't to throw me off your scent so you can spy for your elf friends?
Only my word, which I know is debased by my own deeds. I am at your mercy.
Yellowin unsheathed the gilded hunting knife gifted to him by his parents years ago and held it to his throat with the hilt facing Regan.
If your Grace wills that I answer for my errors with my life, then I've no standing to protest. But if you'll have me, I would do my penance by fighting beside you. A skilled tracker born and raised of the woodfolk will be no small advantage in the fight to come. Only you had better decide quickly, Your Grace. Reloteet is furious, and she is desperate, and she is on her way.
Look at me, Yelloween.
Regan held the young elf's gaze, unblinking, for quite some time.
You believe him, Brennan?
I do, Your Grace.
Stand up. You fight for me now, and I'll bring you in on my plans if and when I decide it's wise. That clear?
Admirably so, Your Grace.
Nia, take him out of earshot, and dig that dot out of him.
Nia and Yellowin both bowed low and then exited the tent.
I take it you've had a change of heart, Sir Brennan?
Your Grace, I still struggle to imagine any way we survive a war against the Tarloheel. But there's naught to do now but try. I am at your service, without reservations.
Good. Let's go to work.
You sure you're all right, love?
I'm alive, and I've you beside me.
Oh, my love. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It was a tender and tearful moment when Gwen and Arlene could finally catch their collective breath in the camp near Freehold.
My dear Gwen, you owe me no apology.
I never should have left you on your own. If I ever thought you'd be in danger.
You couldn't have possibly known. And you left to keep us safe, remember?
But if I hadn't talked us into keeping him, this never would have happened.
Yes. Well...
Don't try and deny it for my sake.
We can only decide things with what we know at the time. And you were right about one thing at least. If we had left him behind, I don't know if I could have ever faced my reflection again. You have always kept me my kindest self.
In a world that keeps showing us how cruel it is. Might make me a fool.
We've made a choice. Together. Now we must make the best of it. Oh, as if on cue. Come, let us see if we can't find some fresh linens for him.
Bryce Riverfell did not know why Brennan had requested his presence so urgently in the nondescript tent on the outskirts of his camp.
As you were, Private.
But given the substance of the previous night's conversation with Brennan, he assumed it was not for small talk. And as you know by now, there was much to fill him in on. Brennan and Regan did so as quickly as they could.
Okay, so you're the High Queen.
Damn right.
On account of a bloodline back to Gunther that he planned to acknowledge before Ardell had him killed.
Just so.
All right.
Bryce knelt and bowed his head to Regan.
You seem easily convinced and not convinced enough at the same time, somehow.
All due respect, Your Grace. It sounds fucking daffy to me, but Sir Brennan would not lie about this.
I'll take it, for now.
And the Knights of the Wood are coming to kill you because you know that orc babies are just like our babies.
That's right.
Shit. We gotta get you out of here.
You got a fortress and army, and you claim to believe us, and the best you got is we gotta leave?
I'd do more if I could.
If you wanted to and had any guts, you mean?
Listen, I've got a ruined fortress and half an army. And to be perfectly honest, you can wave that baby in front of whoever you want. Everyone here, to a man, owes his life to Reloteat in that last battle. Could they be persuaded? Some, maybe. But enough to make the difference? In the next 2 hours? I wouldn't bet your life on it, that's for damn sure.
Okay, maybe you're right, but that leaves me right back where I started.
I understand the imposition, Bryce, but if there's anything you can...
Got some gold socked away, and it's yours. Should be enough for passage on a ship. Keep the captain from asking too many questions.
That's exceptionally generous of you.
Consider us even. Besides, with the jewels we got from the battle, I doubt I'll miss it much anyway.
That's appreciated, General. Unfortunately, I ain't seen too many sea captains out here in the middle of the fucking floodplains.
No. But supplies go back and forth to Seahold every day by river barge.
Meanwhile, in another tent nearby...
You guys know how I feel.
Yeah, we got it, Malcolm X.
Billy,
It's not a fucking joke, man.
Nelson, the elves are on their way here right now. We're not giving up if we live to fight another day.
Jen is correct there, but I doubt fleeing right now will do you much good. The Tarloheel know you are with us, I'm afraid. There is nowhere you could get before they arrive where they will not find you all the more easily.
So what then?
That is what Her Majesty and Sir Brennan are trying to decide.
Don't we get a say in it?
Nia!
Not this time, it seems.
Brennan returned to his queen's quarters with Nia and the 3 Pennsylvanians in tow.
Thanks, Brennan. Take care of the other thing.
Your will be done.
Here's the plan. We're borrowing a river barge.
And by borrow, you mean?
So little faith. Riverfell knows. If we were stealing it, I'd say we're relieving him of it. We'll take the barge east to the coast.
That will leave us near Seahold.
Yeah, I can read a map.
No, it's only... I'm known in Seahold. I grew up there. It may be wise for me to disguise myself.
Hang on, I'll get to that part. But from Seahold, it's north to Armstrongard by sea.
At the mention of Armstrongard, Jen flicked her eyes towards Nia, hoping to catch her attention. But Nia was lost in her own thoughts.
What's an Armstrongard?
Ain't you been there? Sewer rats, horse shit, and cum, mostly. But it's where I know how to hide. And we need to hide. This should go without saying, but you don't tell a fucking soul where we're headed. As soon as it's safe to poke our heads out just a little bit, we start finding some rough and tumble, elf-hating sons of bitches whose swords are for sale, and we surround ourselves with as many of them as we can.
I didn't know we were so loaded.
Loaded?
He means this all sounds expensive.
We got the coin for the ship. The sell swords, we'll figure it out once we're Nomstringard.
I imagine we'll be relieving a few people of their possessions.
I'm open to suggestions. Here's the thing, though. Anywhere we go in this river, the barge will be pretty easy to see from the banks, especially for elves. So we gotta hide while we're on the barge.
Okay.
It's not gonna be the comfiest trip you've ever taken.
Just then, on the banks of the river, Sir Brennan was busy hoisting a blindfolded Yelloween into a barrel which until recently had held overripe cheese.
I'm sorry for the indignity, Yelloween.
Mind the shoulder. Mind the shoulder.
Right. Sorry. We'll find you a proper physician soon as we can. I hope you understand why this all is necessary.
Do I even dare ask where we're headed? In case I fall out and need to swim?
Tell him he's going to a fuck yourself falls, and if he complains, I'll kill his ass with a wine cork.
Her Majesty declines to share that with you, per the agreed-upon terms of your surrender.
Very well.
We're ready, Sir Brennan. Have you gotten the milk?
Nea is fetching it as we speak.
Then we've all we need.
I am sorry about this, my lady. It is for your own safety.
I understand.
Here, let me help you. The wee thing is terrified. But there's not for it, I'm afraid.
It's all right. Give him to me. Young ladies, be warned, hear what I tell. Go not to the woods, to the wishing well. Stay close to the path and do not stray. For if you'll return, I cannot say.
Back in Regan's tent,
Barrels. Awesome.
Come on, really?
The river barrels are maybe the best scene in The Hobbit, and maybe the worst scene in the Hobbit movie, so there's a real range how this can go.
We will need someone to steer the barge, though.
Nose goes.
Shot, not it.
It's not too complicated. If we're about to hit a rock or something, you just turn the rudder the other way. It'll need to be someone pretty strong, though. And there's not much mistake in Brennan, even if we put a hood over him.
So then...
Now, dear listeners, when a party of adventurers is crammed into barrels aboard an essentially oversized raft on a quickening river, helmed only by their most cocksure member, any number of calamities might befall them. But none did, as it turns out. In fact, in spite of his so-called singing, Billy did quite admirably, his athlete's instinct serving him well. So we may safely turn our attention from that river and back to Redmore-occupied Castle Gwernethal. The sun had already begun its slow and inevitable descent by the time the bishop of the castle came to the chambers currently occupied by Lord Ardell Redmore. Ardell and the head priest managed to startle one another as Ardell awoke from a dazed stupor.
My apologies, my lord. I fright easily.
Curse you, you buffoon. Why would you rouse me in the dead of the night?
But 'tis past noon, my lord.
What? You...
And yet, sure enough, Ardell quelled his insults for the old man after he glanced towards the window. The noontime sun shone through the curtains. Ardell tried to arise, but disturbed the several days' worth of papers strewn over his bed and person. I take a certain pleasure, I must admit, in telling you that Ardell had not been having an easy time of it in his new leadership position. I know that, of course, the best storytellers are those who can maintain a personal distance. That said, well, have you met Ardell Redmore?
My lord, your subjects gather in the great hall for you.
What? Are they rioting? I'll have every one of their heads on a pike.
Oh, goodness, no, my lord.
Have they sided with the treacherous Mooncrests?
With the Mooncrests, my lord.
You doddering idiot, of course. I have reports of troop movements mustering on their end. There can be little doubt that they are preparing to march and biding their time until they can foment more chaos. Indeed, I have no doubt their spies are listening to us even now, even since my ascension.
How would they...
Prior to my ascension, in fact.
That would be vanishingly difficult for them to achieve, my lord.
Well, when I said listening, I made quote marks in the air with my fingers. Didn't you see the quote marks I made in the air with my fingers?
Apologies, my lord. My eyesight oft fails me. I must have not have seen the quote marks you made in the air with your fingers.
Why do the rabble claim they are here?
My lord, it is customary for the lord of this keep to hear petitions from his subjects 1 day each month. It is a tradition stretching back to the days of yore, when I had only turned 60 and...
No, you blithering idiot. An audience in public? The insurgents clearly wish to lure me out and attack. Undoubtedly, Julius Mooncrest has paid all these subjects, air quotes, to appear.
My lord, with respect, these folk have worked this land for many years. There's not one among them not known by sight and name to at least one other among them.
Can't you treat with them? These peasants love their holy symbols, after all.
Respectfully, my lord, what with the recent death of their king, peaceful be Gunther's rest.
The bishop signed a circle around his heart with great earnestness. Ardell rolled his eyes.
And then the tumult of the wedding.
But a cold, sickly pit opened in Ardell's stomach at the thought of his sister.
And now the looming threat of war. The populace is uneasy.
What do I care if they are uneasy?
Well, my lord, I have found that the peasantry must feel as if the world around them is well ordered and under control if they are to do their work as normal.
If they are not doing their work, then we shall flog them until they do.
If you wish to catch bees, my lord, you may use honey or vinegar. Vinegar costs time and wastes good wine. Honey needs bees, and I forget where I was headed with this.
Of course you did.
Come now, my lord, just 1 day this month, then you may make sport or hide in the bushes. Whatever you wish while the weather is still fair.
Why would I hide in the bushes?
Among the bushes, then. I've already sorted the petitioners for you.
Oh, very well. If it means you'll badger me with such pedestrian chores no longer, summon the guards to escort me downstairs.
It was yet another half hour before Lord Ardell managed to drag himself down to the great hall of the castle, and another half hour still before the bishop completed the benediction that opened the meetings of the court. You know, the one we've heard Nia say in about 20 seconds.
Show us the path that should be, and grant us courage to walk it now. And at the hour of our deaths. Amen.
Amen.
And also with you.
The court is now in session. Let those with grievances or petitions come before the Honourable Ardell of House Redmore, Lord Regent of this keep and of all the human realms.
But Lord Redmore clearly had no interest in appearing receptive. He sat with his arms crossed and made little effort to conceal his nervous fidgeting and darting eyes during the lengthy prayer.
Let John Butcher, the baker, step forwards.
the baker's called Butcher?
Yes, my lord. His father was a butcher, but his uncle was a baker. It was a whole to-do.
Bit dodgy of him, don't you think? Very well, come forward. Well?
My lord, a fire has consumed my bake shop. I'm penniless.
Well, then, I suggest you sell more toast and stop wasting our time. Next!
Thank you, my lord.
Let the two mothers step forwards.
My Lord Ardell, this woman claims to be the mother of my child.
Tis not so, my Lord Ardell. The babe is mine, and she is a lying harlot.
She is the liar.
I don't suppose you've ever tried cutting the baby in half with, say, an axe or a saw? Sharing it that way, have you?
'Tis a fair judgment. I will accept those terms.
What? Never, my lord. I would rather let this woman have the whole child than to tear my babe asunder.
Methinks the tall one does lie, my lord.
Yes, of course she's lying, you idiot. The child is the short one's.
Thank you for your wisdom, my lord.
I have to ask, why would you ever agree to that? I know you're lying and all and don't care about the child, but what even was your end game? What would you ever hope to gain with half a child?
Well,
You fascinate me. Put her in the stocks for a week.
You'll pay for this, Elga, you will.
The stocks! For trying to steal my child! With respect, my lord, she should hang.
2 weeks in the stocks for the tall one for trying to steal the baby. 1 week for the short one for questioning my judgment. And 1 hour for the baby for causing such a nuisance. Out of my sight. Next!
Let the spokeswoman of the farmers step forward.
My lord, there's a shortage in our grain stores. Now, we understand, of course, that taxes gotta be higher in wartime, and we're paid every ounce, never late. You can ask your collectors. Only, we lost a few fields to the rains last spring, and if this winter's as bad as the astronomers predict, our families ain't gonna have enough to eat themselves.
The proverbial game fowl with clipped wings, don't you think, my lord? You may leave this day a hero to the peasantry yet.
Yes, indeed, you're right.
Ardell sat up straight and did his best to look regal.
Well, this castle keeps its stores well provisioned for such cases. Sergeant-in-arms, go with this woman and fetch however much grain she thinks she needs.
And yet, nobody moved. The guards shot glances at one another.
What are you waiting for?
My lord?
Yes, speak up.
The surplus grain is in the eastern storehouse, my lord.
This prompted a few concerned murmurs from the handful of servants truly in the know.
I don't care where it is, go and get it.
No one really goes there anymore, my lord.
Well, if you don't start by the time I count 5, you'll be hanged for insubordination. 1.
My lord, it is haunted.
Wait, what did you say?
Everyone who's been there of late speaks of a phantom, a spectre, my lord.
Is this some sort of joke? There are no such things as phantoms or specters. There are only spies and saboteurs and soldiers who are too afraid of their own shadows to keep this castle secure. Guards, take this man away and hang him for cowardice.
But, my lord...
Hear me well, all of you. House Redmore is a proud and mighty house. We will not suffer soldiers who refuse to protect our subjects because they are afraid of the dark, nor will we be made to look ridiculous by enemy agents and spies. Men-at-arms, assemble a team to inspect the granary immediately or suffer the same fate as your sergeant.
My lord, perhaps you should be the one.
I'll be in my chambers awaiting a report.
And with that, Ardell Redmore beat a hasty retreat.
These hearings are now concluded.
Oh, shut up, you...
It was a significant detour for Relotiet and her retainers all the way back to River Bloodlands, yet the storm in the mountains had made the rivers impassable anywhere nearer. And though I am loath to ascribe anything resembling heroism to the cruel elf general, it was valiant how she rode through excruciating pain, legs splintered and tied to her horse, as she staved off shock through practiced meditation.
Hail up there! I said hail up there!
Who? Who goes there?
Do you not know our banners, you idiot? We are the Knights of the Wood.
Milord's not taking visitors at present.
We are not here to visit, you imbecile. We need to cross the river. Now lower the drawbridge in the name of the Concordat.
Milord keeps the gatehouse key with him at all times.
Well, go and fetch him quickly.
Oh, hello. Message for you, Tide.
Message?
Has the seal of the High Council on it.
Give it here, then.
To Reloteet, Lord Commander of the Talohil. You are old. Congratulations for your skillful destruction of the latest Orcish invasion. However, we have also become aware of some very troubling oversights in the wake of said battle. Given your exemplary service record, we're confident that there is some palatable explanation for these mishappenings. But I'm afraid the Council must hear this explanation from you in person as soon as you are able to return to the White Forest.
Oh, grant me strength.
I'm sure you'll agree that maintaining our control over critical assets must be of the utmost priority. Yours very sincerely, Batloil, trustee of the High Council of the White Forest.
Gods damn it all. Bureaucratic buffoons will be the ruin of us all. Major Zakad.
Yes, Taid.
It seems I must return to the White Forest at once. Use this boy's pigeons and summon the rest of the battalion.
Oh, this is just like Ash that sings when...
Shut up. Major, as soon as these slack-jawed yokels lower this bridge, you're to take a small detachment to Freehold. Question General Riverfell and find out what he's seen and heard. Have the lieutenants lead patrols around Freehold and search for this accursed traveling party. Set up checkpoints along the river downstream of Freehold, as many as you can without spreading the patrols too thin.
Yes, Taid. And if Riverfell has heard aught he shouldn't have?
You must learn who knows what. Any men yet who've seen or heard of this Orkling child must be quarantined as though they've a deadly fever. Do you understand?
It shall be done, Taid.
You, and you. On me. Keep up. Yeah!
You know, Major, this is just like Gale of Wards when Jan Winters is bitten by a warg on the full moon.
I was gonna read that, you little
We resume our tale in the southern port town of Seahold, nestled against the Sea of the Ancestors, in the shadow of the keep of Ivan, son of Morris. It was here that Billy's river barge was pulled to dock by a sun-tanned stevedore.
Thanks, dude. So listen, my man, I'm trying to find...
Do I know you?
Probably not. I'm just trying
Then
to...
I'm sure I'm not your man.
Shit.
And if you'd had an ear against one of the barrels just then, you might have heard a very frustrated Nia, talking to herself as if trying to will Billy's comprehension.
Billy, we talked about this.
What did Nia say? Oh.
Billy searched for someone nearby who looked friendly. His eyes fell upon a woman with greying hair and a hempen robe, who seemed to be finishing a conversation with a small crowd of peasants. She had the air of a teacher, or... no, that's it. A minister. She and the peasants made the sign of the circle around their hearts, and the peasants departed looking fairly pleased with the interaction.
Hail and well met, good woman.
There we are.
Yes? Hello?
The woman approached Billy. She looked nearly 50.
I, seek to hire passage across the seas. Can you point me towards where I might do so?
Aye, of course. See that steeple over yonder?
And inside her barrel, Nia cupped her mouth with her hand to conceal a gasp.
That's our chapel.
For of course one does not easily forget the voice of one's own mother.
Head down there, and right across the square you'll find a public house. Big badger on the sign. Most seafaring folk are known to take their meals there. Should find someone to give you a fair price.
Many thanks to you.
Simple kindness is the least we owe to strangers. Go with Galadin, young man.
Oh, right. I have heard that some seafarers are less honorable than others. Are there any you would avoid?
This is a decent burg, full of good Galadin-fearing folks. Brigands and rogues find little welcome here. But, between you and me, I've heard some troubling whispers about Otto Olafsson. Nothing for sure, do you know what I mean? But, maybe best to steer clear.
I thank you for your sage guidance.
If I'm really being honest, you're best to avoid anyone who frequents Amstragard, like he does. City has a way of changing even good folk.
In her barrel, Nia hung her head at what she was certain was an admonition in absentia.
Okay, thanks again.
Safe travels.
And Nia could not fully stop at least a few tears from welling up as Billy began carting his friends towards the aforementioned public house, where he of course immediately sought out Captain Otto Olafsson.
Amstragard, you say?
They told me this would be enough.
Yeah, that'll get you there. Fixing to leave at dawn.
What about right now?
The captain raised an eyebrow at this.
I'll gather up the boys. Just you and your cargo?
Yeah.
Your business is yours, but I do like to have some idea what gets loaded onto my ship. But I don't require it exactly.
So, we all set?
Not until I've said this. This cargo, it has to breathe, drink, and eat. That's not cargo. That's stowaways. And stowaways go straight overboard. No ifs, ands, or buts. Got that?
There's 8, aside from me.
8?
No, wait. 9.
Well, that's a lot more risk for me then, isn't it?
With some reluctance, Billy reached into the traveling pack he had with him.
Use your head, lad. Under the table. All right. You can load them up. But they stay in the cargo hold the whole trip. And someone will bring food and drink down. Got that?
Fine. So, can we go now?
And so, by that afternoon, Captain Olafsson had raised his anchor and lowered his sails. And with our party concealed in the cargo hold, he put out to sea. Not a moment too soon either, as the vessel had just cast off when the first banners of the Tala Heel began appearing on the hill overlooking Seahold. Once they had set off, Billy pried his friends loose of their very unbecoming containers, so that they could at least stretch their legs while confined to the cargo hold. Admittedly, some had taken to the ocean better than others.
Well, this is all very fucking regal.
Sir Brennan, you might have mentioned you were prone to seasickness while we were planning this endeavor.
Would it have diminished our need to travel by sea?
I could have at least tried to find some ginger or peppermint for you before we left.
I ought to be myself again soon. There's nothing left to spew.
I don't think I'll ever understand you, Brennan.
Regan then took a moment to look out the one porthole available to her. The coastline was plainly visible barely half a mile away.
Why the fuck are we still so close to shore? Billy, go get the captain. I gotta talk to him.
What's up?
I think we're safe overnight, but come the sun, we gotta be further out. Might as well fucking wave to them from here.
I can just talk to the captain myself if you want. We've got, like, a good rapport going.
No, this is gonna be a pretty tricky needle to thread.
I got us this far on my own.
Better leave it to Regan, okay, babe?
Okay. Hey, Jenny, did you see me steer the barge? It was pretty sweet.
No, I was stuffed in a barrel.
Oh.
But you did it. We got there. Good job.
Andrews with a Hail Mary into the end zone. And Williams has it! Put up 6 on the board! One captain coming right up.
What? What's that look?
You gotta stop stroking him off every time he manages basic shit.
Does everything out of your mouth have to be mean and gross?
You okay, Nia?
What? Yes. Sorry, I'm fine.
You had like a, 1,000-yard stare going on.
There's been much to mull over as of late.
Well, one more hurdle cleared, I suppose.
For now. The milk we brought's like to turn before we arrive. Best to keep him sleeping long as we can.
Young Rosie left the path one day, wandered past the fence and through the hay. She walked and she walked until she fell in the clearing of the fairies' well.
But the calm of Arlene's song was disturbed by the return of Captain Olafson.
All right, there better be a good damn reason you... Who's been sick all over my damn cargo?
Apologies, Captain. I'll find my sea legs soon.
Someone start talking.
What do you think about maybe heading out past these breakers?
None of your business and slim chance anyway. Anything else? Or are you done wasting my time with foolhardy questions?
Hang on. Let me talk to you in private a second.
Regan gestured the captain to follow her into a secluded corner of the cargo hold.
If you hadn't noticed, I've a whole ship to mind.
Come on, just a second.
He reluctantly followed. Unsure of what exactly their queen was thinking, Regan's retainers surreptitiously moved their hands towards their weapons as the captain disappeared with Regan behind some barrels.
I want to get further out to sea.
Good for you. I'm the captain and you're technically cargo.
What'll it take to convince you?
It's out of the question.
Where I'm from, nothing's out of the question if you know how to ask.
Well, where I'm from, captain decides where a ship goes. So unless you forgot to mention you're an admiral, there's no negotiation to be had.
I've always dreamed about venturing out into the open seas. The loneliness, the tossing about, it just thrills me. How about it, Captain? Want to give a girl her wildest dreams?
The captain looked down in confusion as Regan clumsily pawed at his arm with a bandaged mitt.
I'm sorry, I've had a rough couple of days. My heart's not in this, but I gotta get out to sea. How much coin will it take?
Dear, if you could pay me enough, you'd own your own fleet.
Look, I can't give you the details, but...
Now, stop right there. I sure as Sovereign don't want to know your business. But I know anyone who pays top dollar to board this rickety hunk of junk is running from something. Or someone. And I know we're too far out for you to be worried about human eyes spotting us.
So if you know all that, ain't you worried about getting on a certain pointy-eared someone's shit list if they find us?
You see, dear, that'd be much more of a you problem. I've got what you call plausible deniability. You know what that means?
You know I do.
But there's far worse than elves out on the open seas.
You don't know the elves like I do, then.
Cutthroat raiders patrol these waters. And beasts that'll make your nightmares piss the britches. Ever seen a squid that could eat a fishing boat whole? Well, I have. Not to mention, that storm up in the mountains might head our way. Best case, we get lost in a fog. Worst case, turns into a tempest and rips this old gal apart.
Whole lot of maybes. My coin is a sure thing.
Maybe so, but for the last time, it's my ship. And I'll be taking my leave of you now, before I have to get rude. Gruel and grog will come down at sunup.
Balls.
As soon as the captain was back above board, Regan sought the counsel of her retainers.
Anyone got any ideas for persuading the captain? He's a stubborn motherfucker and buying him off won't work.
What? He was immune to your feminine wiles?
Let me tell you the state of my feminine wiles right now. I've had a cavalry charge, a 3-day hike, and almost died in a fire since my last bath. Plus, I'm wiping my ass with a rag on a stick. It's a fucking shipwreck down there. So if you want to offer to spit shine his masthead, I won't stop you, but you're on your own.
Yeah, no thanks. Lady Arlene, perhaps you might cover your ears.
I could probably take his crew in a fight if we had to, but then no one knows how to drive this damn boat, so it leaves us ass-fucked and shit out of luck.
Your Grace, at the risk of becoming the proverbial hanged messenger...
Yelloween was at the moment looking out the porthole with grave concern.
What is it?
There's an elven frigate maybe 500 yards to port.
God's fucking damn it.
I think it's just a routine patrol, but small comfort that is.
We gotta do something now.
When you spoke with the captain, did he let slip any personal details that might be used to apply pressure to him?
Not really. Strong, silent type, that one.
I have an idea. It's gonna sound a little crazy, but bear with me. I think I know how to control wind.
You what now?
I could do it in a small area, I think. It's just air pressure. More molecules in one place than another. Should be even easier than lightning, theoretically. No ionic bonds to break.
This honestly doesn't shock me.
Why must it always be storm magic?
Shock. Get it?
I shall ride to safety on the wings of the storm.
Huh?
Sorry, continue.
Wind is good, but won't they just correct at the helm?
Not if we disconnect the tiller.
Good thinking. I could probably get to the pulleys real quiet like.
No offense, but we'll need to untie them or something, not just cut them, so we can steer the ship again when we need to. Knots might be a little tough for you right now.
You're right. This is getting really fucking old.
I'll go. I think if I'm careful, I can avoid detection.
Regan stared at Yelloween for a long moment.
Shall I, Your Grace?
My eyes will be glued to that porthole. If the coast or the elf boat start getting bigger, you're shock food. Now go.
Try and keep your bandage dry. I'm worried about your wound.
Yelloween bowed his head low before stalking off.
All this still depends on the crew not getting wise. Can we keep them distracted somehow?
On it. I'm sailing away.
Lady, maybe you can help.
Help? How?
I doubt the sailors could say no to your singing. What's the harm in trying? Better than just sitting around praying.
Very well. Your Grace, I think I can help with the crew.
Thank you, my lady. That is much appreciated.
Jen, you got what you need?
Think so.
Then Jen closed her eyes and concentrated deeply. And above deck, the sails began to fill ever so slightly. You might recall that General Traft the Unfortunate had recently been drugged and kidnapped by a woodsman. We return to him now, just as he comes to. The first thing he perceived was the sight of his own breath and the stinging nettles of frigid air in his lungs. He tried to move, but found his wrists and ankles spread apart and bound with thick rope, and as he turned his head to the side, he came eye to eye with a corpse, motionless, eyes glazed over, and the first hints of frost just beginning to overtake its skin.
Damn it! What the fuck?
Now, that don't want to help any of us aboard.
Then Jethro the woodsman walked into view. He wore a robe that may have once been the deep black of the Templars of Discord, but was now a dusty and threadbare grey. And even more disturbing to Traft was the staff with which Jethro now walked, which somehow instilled a very visceral sense of terror in the seasoned warrior. It was sharpened at the bottom, and the markings on it were wrong. The shapes on it were not things that should be, at least in Traft's mind.
So, you're a Templar. That what this about then? Listen, just 'cause I lost the battle,
Nay. I put them in their small little minds behind me long ago.
Listen, if you just let me go, I can bring you more jewels than you ever seen.
Ha! I'm sorry you think I'm such a petty man who cares for baubles and trinkets.
Whatever you want, I can get you.
Well, now that, I think, is true.
Traft began to discern the shapes behind Jethro. Hanging on hooks from the ceiling were frozen corpses in various stages of mutilation and butchery.
What the fuck did you do to them?
By their tattoos, the corpses were mostly, but not exclusively, orcs.
Well, there were mistakes in our explorations. On my part, yeah, but also on theirs. And once the spark's gone out of the body, it's just a meat anyhow. Never could see the sense in wasting it.
You're out of your goddamn mind.
Oh, I'm not, I promise you. But not for lack of trying. I got a faith in you, though, 'cause we got a mutual friend.
Mutual friend? I swear, if this is gonna be some damn scripture-thumping personal Lord and Saviors.
Oh, who needs scripture when you got the genuine article? You knew Queen Dagmar, didn't you?
What's it to you?
Well, she's who got me started on this path. Showed me it was possible.
What was possible?
To walk between the worlds. To move like our shadows do. To become our own shadows.
Old man, if I gotta die in this shithole of yours, I wish you get it over with and spare me the God's damn riddles.
No, you damn idiot! I need you to survive. But unless you want to end up like old Caleb there, walking around begging for food, licking his own a bumhole, then you gotta listen to what I'm a-telling you.
Why would I believe a word out of your mouth?
You wanna see her again? I know I do.
Guess you ain't got a town crier up here, you old coot. Dagmar's dead. Has been for more than a month.
Believe me, I heard. You wanna see her again?
Great. Another loon thinks he can raise the dead.
I don't have to raise anything. The gate between the living and the dead is like my table upstairs. Our bodies cannot pass through it, but our shadows, they got a chance. So I ask you again, you want to see her?
All right, why don't you prove it then? Make one of those sorry bastards stand up and start doing a dance.
Nay, I cannot with them.
Well, that's a shock.
They ain't got no wheels left. Soon as a wheel leaves your body, if you ain't careful, it falls through your grasp like a sand. I try to tell them, like I'm a-telling you, but they didn't believe, and they didn't have no ties to the likes of Dagmar.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the problem.
She's out there somewhere, boy. I can feel her, and I think you can too. If you knew her, then you always felt like there was something to her that she wasn't letting you see. And when you heard she died, a part of you knew she wasn't really gone.
You're bluffing. You're just saying what everyone else thinks after someone dies.
Everybody's so damn incredulous these days. Don't move.
From a nearby workbench, Jethro retrieved a thick book bound in some crude kind of leather. Traft realized with mounting disgust that the patterns on the leather were also orcish tattoos.
There you go.
He held the book open in front of Traft's face, and there, bound into the horrid tome, was a yellowed old letter, written with a hand that Traft still recognized.
You're coming to a crossroads, my love. The world is coming to a crossroads, and you shall choose our path.
Where'd you get this?
What you think? You the only one she took a roll around in the bed with?
Let's see, for some damn fool reason I was to believe you. What then?
Well, then I'd start trying to send your wheel. Short little hops at first, very easy, not much risk. Then once you start to see for yourself what I'm telling you, we could start to get more ambitious.
What do you get out of this?
Told you, to free myself from this bought paid for little world.
So why don't you just go yourself?
Because if I muck it up, there ain't nobody left to try. Your kind spend a lot of time in mines, don't they? And in mines, don't you sometimes bring a little birdie to make sure it's safe? Well, you're gonna be my little birdie. Only if the miner's bird lives, all she gets to do is do it again the next day and hope for the best. But if you live through this, there ain't gonna be a cage built by man or gods that can hold you. And you get to see her again.
What am I supposed to do?
Well, for now, just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths.
The gnarled old man flipped through his grisly grimoire until he found the spell he sought.
There we are. Nice and easy to start.
And as he silently mouthed the words of the spell, an unsettling presence crept into the cellar. As the sun rose on Otto Olafsson's ship, the crew found themselves wholly enraptured by Arlene's singing.
She looked in the well as the mist did clear, in faith that her lover would appear. But she saw not her man, nor moon, nor stars, just her face all full of scars. For she's gathered her skirts above the rim, and she's gone to the wishing well to see if the man that she loves waits for her, all alone at the wishing well.
Now that was some lovely singing, dear. I ain't heard that one since... when was it?
In his reverie, he turned his face to the rising sun.
God's wearing silver.
As it dawned on him, he wheeled on Arlene, choking on his own fury.
What have you done, you goddamned harpy? What siren spell have you cast?
The crew of the ship was now catching up to Olafson's realization.
I only meant to...
You've killed us all, goddammit.
He advanced, red-faced, towards a stunned and frightened Arlene, but Billy got in the way.
Hey, watch it, dude!
Had a feeling about you lot. Should have thrown you overboard soon as I did.
Well, there's a lot of us, so I'd like to see you try.
And then Olafson's eyes fixed on some point over Billy's shoulder, and his face went white.
Oh, stupid child. A little good that'll do any of us now.
All turned to look at where Olafson was staring and saw a grotesque masthead pierce the fog ahead of a sleek hull blackened with pitch. As the thick morning fog parted, the sound of a coxswain's drum wafted towards our heroes as oars furiously beat the water, and then the dread vessel raised high a black flag.
Pirates. God and help us all.
The Once and Future Nerd is directed by Christian T. Kelly Madera. It is created and executive produced by Zach Glass and Christian T. Kelly Madera, and co-executive produced by Jess Kelly Madera.
Associate producers are Ryan Cushman, Alex Story, and Michael Zentz.
It is performed by
Rhiannon Angel,
Garrett Arman, Dan Dobransky,
Anya Gibeon,
Ian Harkins,
Shannon Harris,
Paul Notice,
Juliet Prather,
Frank Quarez,
Julie Reed,
Gregory M. Schultz.
Production audio recording by Jared Paul. Editing by Josh Perot. Post-production mixing and sound design by Dylan Garrity. Tom Lee is our musical director and lead composer, with additional scoring by Chris Montalbo. For more, visit onceandfuturenerd.com or find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, or Reddit.